Fun 2007 gathered some of the best pilots in the world. Matt Chapman is a 14,000-hour professional pilot who's twice flown with the U.S. World Aerobatic team. In '88, he placed third in the world. Michael Mancuso is a 10-year veteran performer who flew for 2 years with the Northern Lights Close Formation team. The Lights won the Bill Barber Showmanship Award in 2001. Flying Chapman's wing, you'll note a unique feature of Mancuso's Extra 300. He's painted the back of his prop tips white as a visual aid for spacing. But formation work isn't the only kind of flying they do. Routine takes advantage of Matt's perfect lines and Michael's awesome dynamic control. But before each flight, briefing.
Be a short run from the loop to the up and down right. Rolling. Pulling out to the barrel roll.
They address safety issues.
Just remember that I'm there, so if your engine was to quit,
Up.
The tails.
So you'll call the pull. Everything else from that point,
Back to
I'm
you.
calling.
And any changes.
I'm powering in, so I had to
Yep.
get overtake. I want to cross your center because ahead of you in that roll.
Okay.
Over.
All right.
Michael invited AVweb to ride along on this flight, and we pass the invitation on to you. Astute pilots will notice how infrequently Michael's eyes leave Chapman's aircraft, only once on takeoff, but rarely when, from Michael's perspective, Matt flies directly through the sun. Also look for Michael's cheeks to puff out. This is part of his training exercise to force blood into his head and retain consciousness while pulling heavy G's. You may also notice that Michael tends to fly with his fingertips while inverted. We're turning the audio over to Michael now, who gave us his post-flight briefing. Enjoy the ride.
At this point, we're just getting ready. We're coming in. The Airbus has cleared us in. You see the smoke come on, and doing a little final engine check and drifting into position. And he starts to pull up like we're doing a loop. And somewhere in here, he's going to start rolling to the left, but you're really not going to notice it because the relative positions of the airplanes aren't going to change.
Well, you see the sun go by.
Yeah. And now you can see we're turning very slowly to end up coming out parallel to the crowd line.
Now, we used a real fisheye on this, so about how far away would you say you actually are?
We're 5 feet here. It looks like it's like 20 feet, really. It's 5 feet away. You'll see if you see the live video. The next maneuver is the loop. And I'm on the inside of Matt, and normally during a loop, I want to get thin. You see how the wing comes up there?
Mm-hmm.
That's me riding up what we call thin, which is riding high. So from the crowd's perspective, it looks like you don't see the gap between the planes.
Okay.
And you're always moving around to maintain that relative. Like you'll see, this next maneuver is a wing over. And you can see a huge change, but if you saw this from the ground, it looks like we're wingtip to wingtip the whole way around. Like right now from the ground, it looks like our wingtips are touching, but I'm actually getting below him, stacking it.
Sure.
And then as we finish the maneuver, I slide back into that position again, where we were. And the next maneuver is a barrel roll. And I don't know if I did it here. Usually when the barrel roll, what we do is we're pitching, we're rolling. As I get on top, usually I'll drift backwards a little bit and move in to make it look like our wings are overlapping from the crowd's perspective. And as we finish maneuver, you're sliding back into position. It's always a little bit of an illusion, and you're always going to move around. If you stayed in the same position, you would only look like you were in position once in a while. And this is the half Cuban to push. We're pulling over the top of the Cuban, we're stopping the pull, and now we start to push. This is the hardest thing that we do in the sequence, and I don't know any other teams that do it, but we're pushing about 2.5 negative G's here. And I'm just hanging on for life. And now Matt starts to roll, so we look at like a half of a rolling turn here. So outside roll, and you'll see when we finish, you'll see all of a sudden we go to positive G, right there, boom. And that was actually pretty much in position. Sometimes I slide back a little bit there by mistake. Here comes a wing over.
Accelerating.
He just called line of breath go, so you see me slide up. Now I'm looking at right now at Matt's cockpit, and I can see across like his cockpit edges. If I can see the whole window, and none of the window jams get in the way of each other, then I know I'm in position. That's what I look at the whole time around. We went through a wake turbulence there, a little bit of bumps. Then we're pitching up for another wing over turnaround.
Right, go.
So we're next on right. Now here I need to get clear of Matt so we can do the simultaneous roll safely. But I try and do it in a line where, so from the crowd's perspective, they don't see the spacing. So right there, you don't see the space. The roll, which is very, very well timed. And now I got to try and drive in and again close that gap so the crowd doesn't see it. You'll see some space there, but I just try and get in position here for what we call a stacked 360-degree turn. Now, From the crowd's perspective, if you notice, I move all the way out to the wingtip. My nose is under his wing. You don't really see it that great yet.
180.
We're about 15 feet apart. Normally we're closer, but I just didn't set up good for it. But you don't see it from the crowd. You learn how to make adjustments if you screw up so the crowd doesn't see it. You see now we're actually lined up.
360. Rolling out. And rolling.
You can see we finished the roll right back in the echelon left formation.
Third left. Smoke on now. Smoke on.
So basically right here, Matt's setting things up. I have no idea where we are. And he sets everything up with respect to the wind, the lines, and I'm just hanging on. So we're doing an echelon left loop. The end of this series is a maneuver that we used to call the back cross split. And we need to get rid of the smoke, otherwise you can't see it. So coming out of the first loop, Matt's going to call smoke off, somewhere right about here. And now as he pull up the second loop, he's going to call line abreast go, and I slide into line abreast. And here's the part that really took me a long time to learn. We're doing a 90-degree turn in line abreast, coming on the back side of the loop. And that was always tough for me to, still tough for me to do smoothly. Now we start to climb. He's going to call smoke off, and I'm going to call clear, and then we're going to do this break. The idea is, at that angle, the crowd can't see our spacing, so they don't really realize that we were no longer line abreast. So now we're kind of setting up a little circuit. We're turning back inbound for a cross, and I'm looking for him. I see him. I call contact. He's going to pick up the inner edge of the runway, and I'm just going to aim right at him. And if we do the cross at the same altitude, it'll look like I'm lower than him. So I'll try and cross about 20 feet higher than him. The further away I am on the cross, the higher I'll be. In this place, we were only about a half a wingspan apart. We made the cross, so I only had to be about 10 feet higher than him. Now, this next taxiway is the end of the box, so I have to pull up really quickly there.
That was his smoke you flew through.
Yeah,
right?
normally we do a Cuban. Here we just did we're doing a Humpty bump. Reason being is that we don't have any space in the box. We're just going to make the next cross really almost impossible to line up on. So this taxiway with the nose, that's the end of the box. It can't go beyond that taxiway. So now we come out, we're like, oh man, we don't have much time to set up for this knife edge cross. I think we got it, but it was close. Boom, there he goes. Now we're doing a looping rejoin. I'm giving him about 4 seconds. I waited a little bit too long. He's already doing a half Cuban. Now I'm doing a loop. Right now I'm going to tilt my head back and try and find him. When I do, I'll call contact. I don't see him yet, but I did for real, I guess. And he's somewhere out there. Now I have to keep my attention between him and the ground. I don't want to hit the ground, but I got to watch him. So I'll do a little bit of a left turn here and try and do a rejoin. Try and set up. If this is done right, I'll flip out a loop and end up right in his left wing. And I slip in echelon left. You have to give him some room.
Rolling out. Clear. Cleared it.
And I start this maneuver up ahead of him. I'm pretty much in line with him. And I slowly move backwards. And right now I'm looking right at his helmet. And as we get to show center, I can move up and out a little bit. So my wingtip, his canopy is centered over my wing, pretty much right here. I move back right now. My prop's under his canopy. He'll start a turn. At the end of the turn, he keeps the G's in and just rolls. We do a canopy to canopy roll. And again, from the crowd's perspective, you can't tell that I've gotten just about behind. If I pulled right now, I'd miss him. And then as I do the half roll, I end up slip back into position. But it's all perspective. We don't really do that roll canopy to canopy because it would be a little bit dangerous. So, but we've realized that the crowd can't tell that you're not canopy to canopy anymore. So I just move back just behind him. And then we're setting up for the rollover, which wasn't our best one ever today. But again, you can see I'm looking through him at the crowd, trying to make it look like the crowd can't see as much space is between us. But I'm leaving him space to safely do a roll to inverted. So now it looks like he's really close when he does that roll, and right away I'm rolling. And my goal here is to catch up to him and get a little bit ahead of him by show center. So everyone in the whole world now sees there's no doubt I'm rolling around him. Most teams roll behind each other. And as we pass show center, I slowly move backwards. I call clear. Now you look, we do a canopy to canopy roll.
Performing is an expensive enterprise. We thank Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for sponsorship of Matt Chapman. Michael Mancuso is flying with his family business New York Jet on his wings, but tells us that spot is open for sponsorship. Thanks to Mike for bringing us along, and thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.